Mel Albin. I'm the host and the founder of the Jazz Confusion
My
Power
name
Hour.
is Dion Parson, and I'm honored to share my passion of music with you, our listening audience, through my cultural heritage.
Things can change for you too. If you want to be brand new, that is absolutely possible.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Jazz Confusion Power Hour. I'm your host, Mel Albin, and as usual, I'll be bringing you a phenomenal artist tonight. As for those of you who have not tuned into the Power Hour before, the idea behind the Power Hour is to get behind the mind, to know the artist, how they create their music, what they do. And everybody, a lot of people think that all you do is just stand up and play. You know, it's a God-given talent, but it takes extreme dedication and years of practice and performing to really hone your art. Along the way, the Jazz Confusion Power Hour has had some remarkable artists, and those artists have included people like Eric Roberson, Mesa, Brian Culbertson, Paul Brown, Raheem DeVaughn, Regan Whiteside, Alex Harris, Tom Brown, Costella, Pieces of a Dream, Kamasi Washington, Kiko Matsui, Cheryl Crow, Reggie Merricks, Philip Brandon, Billy Ocean, Annie Lennox, Costella, Marie Antoinette, Yulia, Blake Aaron, Celine Johnson, her, Samara Joy, the late Bobby Caldwell, Jeff Bradshaw, Dion Parson, Jeff Beck, Eric Burden, Mavis Wanpool, Mickey Howard. I can go on and on. We had just a list of who's who in jazz and R&B and jazz crossover. We promote this show, or we produce this show on the Source TV radio network, WTSN, Washington, D.C. It's a not-for-profit. And, we are here to do two things: to share jazz, which has fewer and fewer stations where you can hear some of the great jazz of the past and today. And also, we also focus on minority and Black communities to help build generational wealth through promoting small businesses. Those are the two missions for the Source TV radio network. We depend on listener contributions because we're a 501c3. Artists that appear on our shows often promote us and often contribute to our revenue on the show. And we have sponsors to help cover the cost of broadcasting. So any contributions that you want to make to the Source TV radio network will be tremendously appreciated. So let me tell you a little bit about tonight's artist, and it's really an honor for me to have him on our show. He already established a reputation as a musical prodigy while still in high school in California, a virtuoso trumpet and flugelhorn player and music arranger, probably best known for his work with the band Tower of Power. His first recorded solo album, Hidden Agenda, reached #1 on the U.S. Smooth Jazz charts in 1995. He has recorded with and arranged for other artists, including Chicago, Heart, Elton John, Huey Lewis and the News, Little Feat, Bonnie Raitt, Chaka Khan, B.B. King, the Eurythmics, Linda Ronstadt, Luther Vandross, and Carlos Santana, and many more. In 1989, he was nominated with Paul Schaefer of the NBC Orchestra for Late Night for an Emmy Award for his arrangements for the Late Night with David Letterman's 7th anniversary special. Since 2009, as founder, he has led the band Greg Adams and East Bay Soul. There's so much more to tell, but that just gives you a general idea of how talented a musician and person he is. So please welcome our special guest tonight, Greg Adams.
Hello, Mel.
How are you, Greg?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Nice to be with you.
It's a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show. I see all your gold records and platinum records behind you.
Yeah, it's just a few of them. that's from an era when we did so many sessions, and the artists would give them away as a as a form of thanks for being involved in the project. And I have so many more, and but those are significant to me. There's a Huey Lewis and Santana, and Tower of Power up there, and a couple of Huey Lewis ones, and Brothers Johnson, which was a great one too. It was the first time I worked with Quincy Jones, and it was a big record. So, yeah, it's this is my office. And,
Wonderful.
so here
One of your band members are here. I'm going to bring him on so he can introduce himself, and you can tell me a little bit about him.
Hey, Richard.
Hey,
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
good.
How you doing?
I'm Mel.
Hi, Mel.
How are you?
Good.
Good. We'll get to talk with you, and you can comment as we go along the way about some of the music and some of the ways in which you have worked with Greg over the years.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I like to start each week with getting our special guest to tell us a little bit about what's cooking, what's going on, new concerts, places you're going to be appearing, new projects, recent releases, just 24 and 25. Give people an idea what's going on with you.
Well, we tend to be a West Coast band. We get back east once in a while, but we have a real loyal following here in California and the state of Washington, and so we play once a year in Seattle at Jazz Alley for a couple of nights, and then we play a couple of nights in Oakland, California at Yoshi's, two of the best jazz clubs in the nation, I think.
I know.
mean,
I've been to
they're really
Yoshi's.
great venues for live music, and have been around for a long time. And both cities, I love Seattle, and of course I'm from the Bay Area, so it's always great to get back there and play. And we also play a club, actually a restaurant, grill, bar, jazz club in Seal Beach, California, called Spaghettini. And we've been playing there. We've been playing there in all forms, as far as me being a solo artist and East Bay Soul for, I think about 30 years almost. They moved the stage around several times since we played there, and now they've enlarged the room. It's pretty nice places to play, and they're bringing in a lot of very well-known jazz acts. Eric Marienthal has a Monday night kind of a workshop there. And of course, Eric is a brilliant saxophonist, so they bring in some pretty heavy hitters. That's a great venue. There's also a great club that we play, and I think it's the finest club in Los Angeles. It's called Vibrato, and it's owned by Herb Alpert. And he's such an iconic music figure and patron of the arts. I mean, the club, it's in Beverly Glen, which is kind of near the top of Mulholland Drive in the hills above Los Angeles. Beautiful club, great production, and so we play there 4 times a year. And once in a while we get to Las Vegas and Denver. We did Berks Jazz Festival this past year, and then we went to Scullers in Boston. And so, yeah, we get around, It's a big band, and it's a big bill to fly and get everybody in one place from point A to point B. And, that's just me. I'm kind of a slave to a larger band because I've always been an arranger. And that horn section is an albatross around my neck. But, hey, I love it, and that's what I do. And so I can't help myself. I'm addicted.
Wonderful. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about how you ever got started in music? What was your family like? Where were you born and raised? And, something about, how you decided to play a trumpet. How did that come about?
Well, I was born in Billings, Montana, and my parents were officers in the Salvation Army, which has a very large music program in the organization, and it's originally an organization started in England, and
Right.
brass bands in England have always been a big deal. All brass, no reeds. It's all like a brass orchestra. So I went to music camp every summer, and they had 4 bands, A to D. And of course, I started out in the D band as a little boy, and I kind of dragged the horn around with me from about 5 to 10, and then I started to get a sound out of it. But I learned my theory, music theory, at camp, band camp every year. The Salvation Army had music camps, and so we traveled from Billings to Portland to San Francisco to Spokane, back to San Francisco, and I eventually started my real public school education in San Francisco, actually Daly City, in California, which is just south of San Francisco. And I went to junior high school, and they had a pretty good band orchestra. And then when I went to high school, which was in Daly City, called a high school called Westmore High School, they had a jazz band. 4 trumpets, 4 bones, 5 saxes, and a rhythm section, and it was.
Excuse me, how did you decide on the trumpet?
Well, there was a lot of music in my house. My mom played piano and sang and played trombone, and my father played cornet.
Okay.
And actually, I didn't switch to trumpet until I was in high school. I played a cornet because that's what a British brass band player plays, is a cornet. A little short little guy with a shepherd's crook. And that wasn't going to cut it in a jazz band. It wasn't, So I got a trumpet from my then trumpet teacher at the time, and the lead trumpet player had graduated, and I came in as a freshman, and I think the band director saw that they needed a lead trumpet player, and I was 14 years old, and I was just trial by fire, and I worked my way up. The first year I was really rough, and we used to go to these contests in Reno, and for college and high school bands, and we would always win, but we were playing kind of stuff that was kind of old, kind of tired and old, kind of dumb swing songs, watered down arrangements of stuff, and I had a hunger to make something out of something. Let's do something different here. Can I because I'd learned my theory, I was kind of teaching myself how to write and compose and arrange. And by the time I got to my junior and senior years, the band director, Howard Leffler, rest in peace, he said, "Greg, why don't you just take over the band and lead it and write for it and conduct it and do the class?" And he would let me just do it. I remember one of the first things I did was I did a takedown of a song by Chicago called Introduction. It was off their first record. And so then, and the kids, my fellow band members, students, were kind of, wow, okay, this is cool. Now we're playing something a little more modern instead of Begin the Begin, you know what I mean? So I was on my way to doing it, and then I started to do original stuff, and we were going to contests in Reno and on the West Coast, and I guess I was doing something right, because we were winning, and I was winning flugelhorns for my performance, and the band was winning top honors all over. And so I got to the point where we were Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Chicago were it was the late 60s, 68, 69. And of course in San Francisco, it was rich with culture, and the music scene was just bursting, with rock and roll and all that stuff. And yeah, horns, wow, look at this. Here I am, a trumpet player. I'm seeing Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Chicago. They're featured on all the music. And so they would come to the Fillmore and play for 4 nights, Bill Graham's Fillmore West. And somehow I finagled my way backstage, and I introduced myself to Lee Loughnane, the trumpet player in Chicago, and he always kind of, took care of me back there, and I would go for 4 nights. I'd borrow my dad's car, and I had just gotten my license, so then Blood, Sweat, and Tears started to show up, and Lou Soloff, I befriended him, and he really took me under his wing and was really helpful, and gave me something to chew on here, like, this is a career, I could do this, and so I saw them 2-3 times a year, and both bands, and so I graduated from high school, and I was going to go to Berkeley, and I knew these guys in this band called Tower of Power, and they used to be called the Motowns, and I played in bar bands even as a teenager. I grew a mustache, and I could pass, for playing little clubs in the Bay Area. I played with Linda Tillery. She was a lead singer of the band called The Loading Zone, and she had done a spin-off album solo with Al Cooper producing it. It was called Sweet Linda Divine. So I didn't do that record, but I was in her live band. Anyway, our paths would cross with Linda and Tower of Power, and so I graduated high school, and I was staying at a friend's house, and Doc found me and said, "Hey, listen, we have an opening. Mick has gone with Cold Blood," and I said, "Oh, well, I'm going to Berkeley. I'm going to go back to Boston. So why don't you just come over and play with us for a couple minutes? We're doing a record here. And we're just putting the horns on." And they kind of knew of my prowess, of arranging. And so I went over. It was like a Sunday afternoon, and bingo, I was asked to join the band at the inception of the first record, and we kind of helped organize the horn parts and kind of clean up, put a third in the chord where there was a third missing, or a 7, or, kind of just polish it up a little bit. So I skipped Berkeley, and I ended up going to the University of Tower Power. And in a way, it was something that I could have gone to Berkeley for 5 years or 6 or 4 years, whatever, and maybe hoped to have gotten the opportunity that was being presented to me right now. And it was no walk in the park. There were dues to be paid. I mean, we were doubling up in hotel rooms, and we were maybe making $250 a week. But I was doing what I really wanted to do. This is what I felt my calling was, and I knew it was not going to be easy. I mean, we all know that. So, but it was like I got to see the world. I got to meet girls, and I got to play music. So it's the Trinity, you know what I mean? So
really, the Holy Trinity.
Yeah. So anyway, that started the whole, really my ball rolling, and we continued to. That was 1970.
Well, I'm going to get back to Tower of Power in a few minutes,
Okay.
but I want to introduce people to your music. So I want to. Then we also have Richard Smith, who's sitting here patiently.
Yeah, and I said once I open my mouth, I'm a freight train rolling downhill. I mean,
I will control the action.
So
Don't worry.
I will shut up so you can talk to Richard, because he's got.
No, I'm enjoying this thoroughly. I'm digging this story, and I've got plenty to add myself. So keep going, man.
Okay.
Wonderful. We're going to bring Richard back on later when we start talking about East Bay Soul. But I want to play the reel. Why don't you tell people a little bit about the backstory on the reel?
Well, actually, it's ironic that Richard brought this song to us to present any interest in it, and he had done it with another writer, and so I thought, well, let's kind of put this together and see what we can do with it. And so, yeah, it's a great song, and it's the title cut. So I mean, it made the title cut. So and Richard and Terrell and Nick and I know that man's name, who I can't. Is his name Timo?
Tico Pierhagen.
Nico. Yeah.
Amsterdam.
The five of us. This is like one of those songs you see on those rap records where there's like 35 writers on one song.
Right.
But this one has 5, and so anyway, it's a real. It's a real special song, I think, and the way it all came about, I don't know, it's just very unique. So when you play it, I hope when the people listen, I hope they enjoy it. If they haven't heard it before,
they're gonna love it.
Cool.
So okay, so now you're gonna hear the reel from Greg Adams and East Bay Soul.
I know you're the one for me. Just maybe you see what you need in me. Oh, but is it love when you want it? Is it love when you want to give it? Well, here's the deal, so come and get it. You better believe it. Baby, I'm the real. I'm the real deal, yeah. I know you're tired of fake romance. Just maybe, yeah. Another chance. Oh yeah, I can give you love when you want it. Give you love when you need it. Here's the deal, so come and get it. I can give you everlasting, ever loving, good old fashioned love, love, love. Oh love. I can
That is absolutely spectacular.
Oh, thanks.
Love that song. The bass line is stupendous. So why don't we
Yes.
have Richard talk a little bit about the string, the rhythm section part. Richard?
Yeah, that's a song that I put together with Tico along with a bunch of others, and but I got to say I had no vocals on it whatsoever, and the band did their own interpretation of what I brought to the party, and it was just really magical. And it's really it starts with a big riff, dong 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 dong, and that's a nice counterpoint to what's going on with the voice. So there's these two main themes, and then the glue that holds it together is, of course, the great horn section. And yeah, so that it really came together. It was really magical to be able to work with everybody on this one.
Who's the vocalist in that? He's spectacular.
His name is Terrell Edwards. Yeah, Terrell Edwards, and he's yeah, he truly is it's our lucky day we met him. He's a great singer, a great
And lyricist.
He's so classical, old school in his approach.
Yeah, you know, he was. It was funny. He was doing an event for out in Ventura County, and we used to play a club out there called Bogies, and in Westlake Village, and we never met him, never heard of him, and there was this guy who used to book us in this club, and he was responsible for this one. It was a benefit show, and of all people, the MC for the show was Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. And,
wow.
But somehow Terrell is a very enterprising young man, and he gets through doors that you wouldn't expect him to. And anyway, he got on this show, and the promoter called us and said, "Hey, I think I got a singer for you," because our last singer had left quite abruptly, and we needed to find somebody quick, and so. He came to the studio, auditioned, and left, and everybody looked at each other. This guy's the guy, you know, and he's got the old school thing, but he's still modern, and you know, it just was a real nice chemistry, and here we are, you know. I mean, and we're very, you know, singers. They're the third sex, you know. I mean, so they. You know, you have to be. It's. You know, I mean that in a kind of sense, but you know,
I get you.
It's that drive to be a singer. I mean, it's like I'm not a lead trumpet player. Lead trumpet players are another ilk altogether. You know, I mean, it takes all kinds of personality.
I was going to say, man,
to be a professional musician, there has to be that thing, that inner drive, and so. And the funny thing was, Terrell had just recently met Jay Leno, and he asked Jay Leno for some advice, and Jay Leno told him, "You got to go to L.A." And so he moved to L.A. And Terrell tells me that I was the first one that he really came in contact with. So he credits Jay Leno. Because you know he's in the band, so you know it's kind of a crazy story, but I'm glad he met Jay Leno.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. You know, Greg, I want you to talk about just digress a little bit and talk about something else. You played with a who's who in jazz, pop, rock, and R&B. Can you tell us about some of these performances or studio sessions that stand out in your mind that you think were career changers or career definers?
Well, you know, it's funny. We did in 1974, I think it was. 1974. We did a taping of Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve on the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. And on that show, George Carlin was the host, and on the show was the Pointer Sisters, Billy Preston, Linda Ronstadt, Tower. Oh God, I can't remember. Anyway, but we taped it like in November, and of course it aired on New Year's Eve. And Tower was on a roll at this point in our career. We played. The Dick Clark Show aired New Year's Eve. We played live in Las Vegas at midnight at one of the hotels, and then took a red eye to Los Angeles and played halftime at the Rose Bowl. We played So Very Hard to Go with the USC marching band, so we were kind of busy in those days. But to backtrack, Linda was on the show, and first time I'd met her, and so she remembered that the band, the horn section, and we were doing a little horn section recording sessions, but nothing really big, yet. And so she knew. Her manager was Peter Asher, and so they knew that Gus Dudgeon, who was producing Elton John, was in the studio here in LA, and so they weren't. Elton was not happy with the horns that were on the record, and Linda suggested to Peter, "Hey, those guys in Tower of Power, they're pretty hot. Why don't you drop their name and see how that worked out?" So we did the Caribou album with Elton John, and after that, the phone did not stop ringing. We literally were, and we were living in the Bay Area then, and we were kind of in residence between our records and sessions at the Sausalito record plant, and we were in there maybe four, sometimes 5 days a week. I mean, and people would fly in, and because of those Elton John sessions, that just opened the door, the floodgates, and we started to work with everybody, and Rufus and Chaka Khan and Santana and the Eurythmics, like the people that you mentioned earlier, and there's so many more, and we ended up playing with the Rolling Stones at Candlestick Park. Way back when, and the records just kept coming, and it really was. It put the horn section on the map. And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to point something out. Obviously, there's a wealth of talent, but serendipity. The fact that you were on this cruise and the show with Linda Ronstadt, and she connected with Elton John, and the rest is history for you and Tower of Power.
It was the beginning, and subsequently my friendship with Linda grew, and we ended up doing several records together with Tower horns, and also I did some string arrangements for her, and Peter Asher is a good friend over the years because of that. And he manages and produces her, and of course Lyle Lovett and Neil Diamond and all that stable of talent here in LA. I ended up working with Lyle, and so it's just, so many things, so many sessions I've done. One of the best ones I think was here, and we were at Dave Stewart's house from the Eurythmics, and he was producing Annie's first solo record, and we were doing it, and it was a home studio, nice home studio. He has a pretty nice mansion in Encino, and we were just finishing up laying down the horns, and she came by and wanted to hear something, and she said, "Hey," after listening it once, she said, "Do you mind," in her Scottish accent, "do you mind if I take a stab at the vocal? I'm feeling it." And she didn't even go in the booth. She just stood in in the console room, and we're all sitting there, and there's Annie Lennox, iconic Annie Lennox, singing the shit out of this track. I mean, it's just right, one live cut, man. Just it was stunning, and that was one of the highlights I've ever, and like those are moments, sometimes when you think, wow, I guess I was in the right place at the right time,
It's so much of the rise of a career is being in the right place at the right time, independent of talent.
Yeah, I've had so many great opportunities, and a couple of them, like I did the first Quincy Jones project I did with him was the Brothers Johnson, and I fully thought that, yeah, okay, the horn section is going to play, and what a great opportunity we're going to play Quincy's arrangements, and I went to A&M to meet with him just to see what was going on, and he said, no, you're the arranger on this record because I want your sound. That's why I called you. I was kind of stunned on that one. I said, okay, I can go for that. And we were kind of going through all the tracks, and all of a sudden a door opens. Quincy had an office on the lot at A&M, and so anyway, the door opens and in walks Lou Gossett Jr. And so I meet Lou Gossett, and he's a really nice guy, and rest in peace. And so it was about 12:30, and they said, hey, let's go over to Roscoe's and get some chicken and waffles, because it's right around the corner from A&M up on Gower. And so I got invited to go to lunch with Lou Gossett and Quincy Jones. And usually there's a line out the door at lunchtime, especially. I mean, like 50, 75 people. Man, did we go to the head of the line, And so
Sure.
that was another kind of cool thing about working with Quincy Jones, because I had never had Roscoe's, so that was kind of cool. But,
It's funny you mention this. It's funny you mention this because I have 2 different doctorates, and I found that the most valuable part is when I go to a restaurant and I say I'm Dr. Albin, and I get a seat right away.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. It's funny. They have a school at Berkeley. This is the irony of the whole thing of me not going to Berkeley, but I think for the last 20 some years, they've had a Tower of Power class at Berkeley School of Music.
Wow.
And I think I've kidded Richard about this. Hey, Richard, how do I get an honorary doctorate? But because he's a doctor at USC in the School of Music. Richard's the maestro here, and so
it's no joke. But ironically, I was responsible for Quincy Jones getting his honorary doctorate at USC.
There you go.
We're doing a whole year of honoring Quincy. But no, I'm still working on that. You know me. I hooked up with the Royal Conservatory of Holland, and it's interesting. You talked so long. If I can butt in here, from
please.
education perspective, I really enjoyed the first part of this where you're talking about how school was this incredibly important vehicle for you, not just from learning, but also from having the opportunity to teach and to be recognized at an early age. And that today was the first day of full meetings at USC that I just came from. By the way, big respect to 2 doctorates. That's no small feat at all. I know from making life hard on our doctoral students that's a magnificent honor to have. And an honorary doctorate, they have a whole class at Berkeley on Tower of Power. Now, I'm just a few years younger than Greg, but Tower was this amazing, magical, to use that, to not overuse that word today, influence on so many people. I was in 11 different countries last year doing what I do, either as a guitar player or as a professor. And you could talk about a lot of R&B bands and things like that, but the one that really makes really well-educated musicians who know great music go into alpha. When you mention, oh yeah, I worked with Greg from Tower of Power, and they go, you know, is Greg's influence on Tower of Power, because there were a lot of bands where they were writing great R&B. But when you break down some of these arrangements, like on What Is Hip and Soul Vaccination, and you know, the list goes on, You're Still a Young Man, those songs wouldn't be as effective, nearly as effective, without this mechanism that was really new to pop rock R&B, that Greg just harnessed the awesome world of horn arranging and crossed it over, which is also now, by the way, Greg, we just had a big meeting with the dean of the music school, who, lo and behold, is saying how we need to start bringing down these silos and putting strings with pop musicians and putting brass with pop and things like that. Something you were doing a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I mentioned early on, Richard, the three bands that stuck out in my mind from the West Coast was, of course, Tower of Power. There was Earth, Wind, and Fire, and War. And they all brought horn sections. But Tower of Power stood out because of the funk, rock, jazz, the amalgamation of genres, and how smoothly they were integrated made Tower of Power by far. And that's Greg's work. And that's why I said it's an honor to have him on. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. This is one of the great bands in history. Well, which brings me to East Bay Soul.
Right. That's what I was going to say, is seeing how and I'm going to say something, and I'm going to let you go, Greg, because I know how much you like to talk. but honestly, I've been touring for a long time with Richard Elliott and with my own band and with Dan Siegel way back in the day, and a lot of guitars and saxes and things like that. Nothing is harder than putting 10 people out on the road in this day and age. But Greg is on this mission, and you know, I love to play me some guitar, but there's nothing like sitting back along with Herman Matthews and Del Atkins and Nick Milo in that rhythm section, being that it's a dream come true to be part of a rhythm section that is the propellant that is creating that propellant that the horn section and the beautiful melodicism and the lyrics go over. I've cut my playing down by about 70% just to sit in the pocket and allow the space for all this other orchestration to go on. And I'm enjoy on a nightly basis playing with you. It's just from a rhythm section.
You know, that reminds me of, you know, Miles Davis once said that what makes the song is not the notes, it's the space.
Yeah, it's what you don't play.
Yeah.
And I read another quote just the other day. It was, you can play a bad note. It's what you do with the next note that really makes the difference. You know,
Miles Davis.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
Yeah.
Well, no bad notes.
Tell me something about.
Better recover from it. You know.
Tell me something about the founding of East Bay Soul, and Richard, you feel free to jump in. I just want to spend a couple of minutes because we have to move along. I want to play some more music.
Well, you know, It came to me, like I said earlier, I think maybe it was in the pre-show. I had left Tower of Power in 1995, and I had done all these smooth jazz solo records. And I always had, and I was very fortunate with some chart success with Smooth Operator and stuff like that. And but I always would add a horn section to my solo records. And the smooth jazz genre was just getting all cloudy, and I was having a hard time grasping and getting on the radio. And I want to do what I want to do. And my wife Andrea, who's also my manager and the band's manager, I said one day, I want to do what I do. You know, I want to do what I'm known for, instead of kind of fake it. You know, and she facilitated, and we did a GoFundMe and Kickstarter projects and to fund the records, and that's how East Bay Soul was invented. You know, it came from a desire to do something different, because smooth jazz radio has been nice to me. I'm not knocking it, but it's very hard to get through the door anymore. And so I have an audience that enjoys what I've done in the past. And like when I left Tower of Power, well, I was the sound of the horn section, so I took it with me. And it appeared once in a while on all my solo records, but now I had this band, East Bay Soul, that it's an ensemble, you know. It's an organic thing that it presents itself as no tracks, it is what it is, and that's, to me, that's the beauty of music, and it happens spontaneous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
The spontaneity of it is very important, and so this was a chance for me to be a member of an ensemble, you know, and I'll put myself out in front. I'll play leads on my flugelhorn and stuff like that, or maybe take this trumpet solo on something like that. But this is an ensemble. There's solos all over the place by everybody. Everybody's included. This is not, you know, and I just put Greg Adams and East Bay Soul in it, so somebody might, oh, that's Greg. Okay, yeah, let me just check that out. But it is really East Bay Soul. It's the band East Bay Soul, and I enjoy working with these guys. I've worked with some of the best musicians in the world, and I say this every night, that I'm very lucky to have this group of players on the stage with me. In every aspect, of every aspect of their contribution, it's stellar.
I'm sorry to interrupt you like that, but I want to play another one of the songs so people can hear more of East Bay Soul. I want to play "Dreams Come True." So why don't you tell us a couple of
This is good. This is good. Like on every East Bay Soul record, I'm still trying to get in that door, in the smooth jazz radio. And this one was the quintessential smooth jazz. I thought this would fit at radio. I could hear Talia playing it on Watercolors, and she's a dear friend of ours, and plays all my old stuff, Burma Road and all that kind of stuff. They call it golden. Anyway, I thought for sure, but the tight playlist and everything. But with this song, God, it was just Nick and I wrote this, and we just tailored it. It's got everything that smooth jazz radio should have. And it bombed. And I think it's like one of the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever written. I love the changes. I love the melody, the way the band plays it. It's just got so much heart and soul, every element, and boom, crickets. So anyway, play it, and I hope you enjoy it.
I definitely will. What you're talking about is the public's taste. And if there's one thing that's missing in music today, A&R used to create public taste. It's gone now. There is no public taste.
It's the programmers. They decide what the public's going to hear. And if the public got to hear, hey, just maybe they could trust the ears of the listeners. I don't know. Go figure. I just don't. It's nice to get a chance, because this thing is just ear candy. I mean, it shimmers.
Let people, I'm going to let people hear this now. This is Dreams Come True. This is by Greg Adams and East Bay Soul. That is just spectacular. It's so beautiful.
Yay!
It's so melodic.
If that doesn't get you laid, I don't know what would. I'm telling you, it just had the whole kitchen sink in it. I mean, every element, I channeled, a very dear friend of mine, the late Al Schmidt, who's a recording engineer who has more Grammys than any other audio engineer. He and I worked together on several projects, and I could channel the strings the way he would record strings, like he did with Breezin' with George Benson, and I did so many dates with him at Capital A, and just that magic that he could pull out. And our engineer on this record, The Real, is a protege of Al Schmidt, Kenji Nakai, and so he's done our last few records, and so it's I just try to get every element that I could to make this thing so friendly. And we played this song live, and people are just like stunned at the end. It's such a pretty song.
Beautiful. And the horn is spectacular, but the arrangement is captivating.
Yeah,
And it's just wonderful. It's a beautiful piece.
But I'm just going to posit another angle of that, Greg. That's if everybody knew how to write a hit for radio, and let's put from Quincy Jones onto you to whomever, then there'd be a lot more. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Because there's a lot of people writing a lot of great music that are all. This is the amazing thing too about this whole world, is they're getting thousands of singles a week now, and to get where you've gotten is beyond cool. I mean, it's like beyond the odds, right? So we have the best intentions. We work hard. We have the best intentions for our music, but we still realize that there's something about music that you can't just figure out. You can't just go with all of your, let's say doctoral degree in music, or let's say all the experience you've had. It's still, we don't know. And thank God. Thank goodness it's still that intangible, magical mystery thing that breaks through.
Yeah. Well, we were, at our age, we experienced a different generation of music, and with all the new technology does not mean it's all talent, and so we went to the school of hard knocks. You had to perform to survive, and so it's kind of, I don't want to sound like how when I was a teenager and the Beatles came out, and a lot of parents were saying, "Oh, they'll never survive. What is that garbage they're playing? That's not music. And what about those haircuts? And I see I don't mean to sound like that, but sometimes I just don't understand modern music today. I just don't.
Well, here's
at my age, I don't have to. So
I was talking with Sheryl Crow on one of my shows earlier, and she was talking about her and Neil Young are on this campaign that music writing isn't music writing anymore. It's 12 people who get together with a computer, and the computer dictates the chorus and the hook. And it's not people creating the music the way they used to. There's no soul in it. There's no instrumentation.
And this is a funny thing Richard said the other day. We were, I don't know, at a rehearsal or on the road or whatever. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm paraphrasing. You probably correct me. There's like three tempos in smooth jazz: 118, 121, and 123, or something like that. They dictate the tempo. I can remember years ago testing songs with programmers, and they'd say, "No, you got to take it down 2 clicks BPM. It'll never." They were that anal about it. And they're just bean counters. They weren't musicians. I don't know. It's funny because how things are now, and like like I said, I'm lucky to have experienced the things that I got to do organically, and that's why I like the organics of East Bay Soul. So
Well,
Definitely.
we're talking about two different things. We're talking about writing music for radio and just writing music. And
yeah,
you can edit whatever you want and put it out there. I honestly, and I felt sincere about this. I stood in front of 50 aspiring young musicians today, guitar players, from bachelor's degree to master's to doctoral, and I said there's never been a better time on the planet to be a creative musician, because the silos are coming down a bit. There's so much music for them to listen to. So if you go beyond just the mechanics of making a living at it or something, to be creative, and all of these machines that are changing our world are actually, I think I think that we got a Beethoven and a Bach and a Quincy and a Greg Adams in the chute, ready to go. It's up to them now, And
Yeah,
I think it's a
I
great
think
time to
it's
be a
changed,
musician.
Richard. I kind of have a different perspective on this than you do. For an artist to make a living today is 10 times harder than it ever was back in the 70s and 80s.
And it was no joke back in the 70s and 80s either, man. It was always hard.
No, but here's the difference. The difference is you didn't have, for example, DJs competing with bands, for space when they can play $200 a night and the band can't survive on that. You didn't. Now you get 100,000 downloads, streams, and you made $8.
yeah,
And it's become a difficult task, and I think to some ways the music has narrowed dramatically in terms of taste. Urban music dominates the airwaves, and it's difficult for jazz, blues, R&B. If you're not doing country, or rap or hip hop, it's tough to break through. And so I think it's become in many ways more difficult. And while record labels dictated taste, for a lot of musicians, it was difficult to break through that. At least there was somebody at the helm who was trying to figure out what sounds good.
yeah. His name was Clive Davis. You know what I mean?
You got it.
Yeah. The A&R guys, who really discovered the Springsteen and the Billy Joel and that kind of stuff. It's just the matrix has changed. It's still out there. There's, like Richard said, there's a Beethoven, there's a Bach out there. There's gonna be, But one of the cats that I really dig today, and I did it's the last session I did with the late Al Schmidt at Capitol, and it was for a rinky-dink Lincoln Continental car ad, but the band was Lee Sklar, Waddy Wachtel, I can't. Anyway, it was the first time I'd met John Batiste.
Oh, I love him.
And
I love that.
I've loved him on the Late Show with Colbert and I used to do the Letterman Show all the time with Paul, and so CBS, it's in my heart, and it's in the same theater and all that kind of stuff. So I would watch it. I go, what a talent this guy is. And so he walks in the room, and Al introduces me to him, and he said, Greg played with Tower of Power, and I was like, wow, instant cred with John Batiste, and which, man, his career has taken off, man. He had to leave the TV show because he was getting so big. But I remember
how many
working,
Mars,
and that would be one person I would love to work with.
Yeah, but how many John Batiste and Bruno Mars are there that can take the old school and make it work today? It's
It's
tough.
I mean, see what he does. What he's doing is what I love doing that kind of stuff. It's like adding modern to old school.
Yes.
What I did was in the beginning, black rhythm and blues. That's where the horns were. James Brown,
Yep.
You know, all that kind of stuff. And that was the first stuff. Oh, Cold Sweat. Oh, yeah, I get it now, you know, and stuff like that. But, you know, I love that. And that's where my roots come from. And believe me, I haven't studied with anybody. I'm self-taught. I mean, I have my favorite arrangers, like Nelson Riddle and Quincy Jones and Billy May and the late Harry Betts, who conducted Below Us All the City Lights on the Back to Oakland album, because I played in the orchestra. And but you know, it's such a great thing to be standing in front of an orchestra conducting, and that's one of the things I never got to do. Even when I did Linda Ronstadt on her last record with Aaron Neville, we did a cut on the horn section. Did a cut on the record, but I did the strings. When Something Goes Wrong with My Baby, and it was Aaron and Linda duet. I did the horns, and Peter asked me to do the strings, and we did it at Lucas, the Star Wars studio up there in Marin County in the Bay Area, and I mean, they had a 94-piece band playing my string arrangement. I mean, I couldn't be there because I was playing in Boise, Idaho, or something. That was Tower of Power. God, get a sub, Greg. You know, and you know, and that's one of my favorite records, and I'm so happy to be all over it. But you know, it's
Greg, we're running down in time. I want to play another song, "Baby Please Stay."
Okay. Do you want to? Do we have time for a little short story?
Yeah, you can set it up. Go ahead.
Okay. I behind me on my piano, I was plunking out some chords one day, and this is I don't know. I didn't have any title. It was just a little progression, and I decided to date it like 8/20/19. You know, August 20th, 2019. So anyway, I didn't think anything of it, and Nick was over one day, and he likes to play my piano because it's a nice Yamaha, and so he was doing his etudes and stuff like this. I tell this story on the show, and he's playing his Rachmaninoff and all this long-haired stuff, and he moves his music over and starts playing this, and it was like, well, this is nice. What is this? I said, oh, well, I don't know what it is, and I said, oh, it's cool. Well, it's in 4/4. Why don't we put it in 12/8 and maybe make like an old school soul ballad, like a la Aretha, you know, kind of a thing. 1960s Atlantic Records, you know, with Ahmet Ertegun producing it, and maybe Arif Mardin doing the strings and the horns, and said Terrell was by because we were working on the lyrics for the reel that afternoon, and so we'll just, you know, that give me a stab at that some lyrics for this now that it's in the new tempo and a soul ballad, you know. Within 5 minutes, we had this song. So there you have it. Now you can play it. It's really, it came out really nice, and just the strings and the horns, and it's framed really nicely, and the playing by the band is exquisite.
Wonderful. This is called "Baby Please Stay" by Greg Adams and East Bay Soul.
There's been some times when everything was right, and when it got dark, our love was the light. But trouble comes in sometimes, and baby, that's how it goes. I don't want it, but we need this rain for our love to grow. So who do you love? I'm in love with you. My life changed for the better, so I'm leaving you never. So please take my flaws. I wanna be your all in all. I'll keep you warm through every storm from now on. Baby, please stay. Don't go away. Please, baby, stay. Just another day. Just an hour or a minute, girl, to prove our love is true. So who do you love? I wanna be loved by you. Yeah. My life changed for the better, so I'm leaving you never. So darling, please take my flaws. I wanna be your all in all. I'll keep you warm through every storm from now on. Baby, please stay. Don't go away. Please, baby, stay. It's just another day. If you don't have a day, just an hour or a minute, girl, to prove our love is true. What do we gotta do? What do we gotta do? What do we gotta do? Oh, I wanna be everything that you need. And I promise, baby, I'll be there for you. Oh, baby, please stay. Don't go away. Please, baby, stay. Just another day. Please, baby, stay. Don't go away. 'Cause I'll leave you never, never, never. Oh, baby, please, baby, stay. 'Cause I'll love you always, always, baby. So, baby, please stay. Baby, please stay. Don't go away. Oh, baby, please stay. Stay, baby. Stay, baby. Don't go away.
Greg, every time I listen to one of your songs, I'm just mesmerized. It's the melodic nature, the arrangements,
Thank you.
it's beyond belief. I'm just so proud to have you on the show.
Well, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
You're a legend already. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I want to play a last song, and then we can kind of wrap up a little bit. I want to have you back at some point to talk more about your evolution from Tower Power to East Bay Soul to where you see yourself going now. But right now, I want to play West 57. So why don't you briefly tell everybody about that song, and we'll wrap up with that.
Well, I started to put this thing together on the piano. Believe me, I'm a piano owner, not a piano player. I just use it to reference some chord voicings, here and there, stuff like that. But I'm not a pianist. And I was writing this song, and I ran it by Nick, our keyboardist, and he and I, both alumni from Tower of Power, together for years, and have been writing together for many years. He just got married to his girlfriend, that is now his wife, in England, and he was in England, and we were going back and forth sending kind of like little pieces here, and I'd write it out and PDF it to him, and so we put this together across the pond, and it has an urban feel to it, so we called it East 57th, and it's just one of those things. It's urban funk, and we tried to sneak this one past smooth jazz, and Talia said, "I love this track." I said, "Oh, great, that's great," because she's a barometer for what she's hip. She's almost too hip for the room. And I've been called that, and I consider that a compliment. And she said, "Oh, I love this track. I hope we go on it." Ding, 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 ding. Nope, crickets. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm happy, and that's what counts most to me. I've had my moment in the sun, and I'm still chasing to keep in the sun, and I seem to be doing the right thing, and I got a long way to go. And so this one is like a little adventure. It's got a lot of Greg in it. But it's got a lot of East Bay soul too. I couldn't have done it without them. And the band smokes it. Herman's groove is killing everything. It's just one of those things. It all came together in the studio. So enjoy.
In my opinion, your music that you put out has gotten better and better and better.
Oh, thanks. That's good to know.
So when you talk about that you had your day in the sun, I think there's still more days in the sun to come.
Well, yeah, it's funny. We used to make 5,000 CDs and then go down to 3,000 CDs and then 1,000 CDs. Now it's like you record a single and you stream it. God, you can save so much money these days, But it's funny. I got a lot of drink coasters out in the garage, still in their shrink wrap. But anyway, and it's funny because we used to sell. We'd sell CDs at the gigs, for years and do really well. Now, if we're not selling for $5, we're giving them away. Just here, take this, listen to it. And a lot of people don't even have CD players anymore.
No.
So,
that's what I try to tell a lot of aspiring musicians. If you get 1 million hits, you made $800.
I know that. Oh boy.
So
there's some incentive.
What you need to do is to cultivate a fan base of 1,000 who will buy your music for $10 a month, and you end up making 10 times more than the 1 million streams.
Subscriptions.
Yeah. Okay, let's play this beautiful song. Let's play West 57. Okay, and we'll be back and we'll say goodbye with Richard too.
Okay.
Now, who was that great guitar player in that piece?
Yeah, that guy.
You got lucky.
Never disappoints. The baddest
That was
cat.
great, Richard.
Thank
It's a great solo.
Absolutely great. I love that song.
Yeah, and there's no fade either. We've got a button on it.
Yeah.
Go think.
Yeah.
Well, look, this has been a real pleasure having both of you on tonight. Thank you, Richard, for dropping in and sharing the moment.
I'm honored. It's a pleasure. I love Greg is the coolest hang in the business. And by the way, too, there's a vibe that he's such a great leader. Lets all of us. He's got the cream of the crop in his band we go all over the place. Mainly because Greg's such a great hang, so professional, of course, professional, tick that box. But honestly, it's always a great time backstage. Thank you, Greg, for being a great leader above all else.
It's a pleasure. You're the best. Yeah. You're the best.
Just so you know, Greg, just on my station, and this doesn't account Facebook, YouTube. This goes out to through our distribution network in podcast format to iTunes and Amazon and Noblex. But tonight it's my biggest audience I've ever had on the Power Hour in 4 years. 272,000 people have listened in globally.
Wow.
So
bravissimo.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, never had an audience. It doubles my next biggest audience pretty much.
Wow. 272,000.
272,811 to be exact.
Bravo. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Well, listen, it's been a pleasure, Greg. Why don't you tell everybody where they can buy your music, where they can become a fan of social media, and how to contact you?
Well, you can go on the web. We're on the Facebook, eastspacesoul.com, gregadamsmusic.com, and there's all kinds of information and, a lot of everything that you need to know. As a calendar, there's you can buy the CDs online. I'll autograph them. We send them out, and you'll see where we're playing, so you know if you're in the area. Like I said, we're kind of West Coast. Once in a while, we do get to the East Coast. It's like Richard said, it's a little tough, but once you hear the band, it's pretty special, and we have a loyal following, and so we thank everybody who has listened tonight, who has heard us. We love you madly. And if you haven't heard of us and you heard of us tonight for the first time, I hope we've piqued your interest, and you'll go to the websites that I mentioned and become a new friend. And if you're already there, thanks a lot.
Wonderful. Richard, why don't you tell everybody about some of the programs you do at USC, you say with USCC, I think? You're muted. Your microphone's muted.
I'm sorry. Manners. Yeah, at SC, I'm a tenured full professor. This is my 41st year there. And I help bring along my studio. My graduates are with Billie Eilish and Michael Bublé, and I'm very proud of my guys who are out there with Jennifer Lopez and doing the guitar thing on a big level. And Adam Hawley has produced my last 3 singles, all of them hits, and he was one of my students for 10 years. He got his bachelor's, master's, and doctorate at USC, and that was my producer. So I don't think there's any better compliment for students coming through that program. And we also have a pop program that until recently was led by Patrice Rushen. And we got the Yellow Jackets. Most of the Yellow Jackets are still there, and Bob Mintzer, and it's an extraordinary jazz program. And trying to get Greg an honorary doctorate.
Yeah, there you go.
How can people get in touch with you, Richard?
Yeah, rsmith at usc.edu.
Wonderful. Well, look, thank you both so much. It's been a real pleasure and a treat for me. And I hope to have you back again, Greg. I'd love to.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime. You let me know when it's good. I'll be there for you. like I said, once I start talking, I can't stop.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, you guys have a great evening. Maybe, Greg, if you want to hang around for a few minutes afterwards, we can chat.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, thanks so
See you,
much,
Richard.
Mel.
Bye, Richard. A
I'll
pleasure.
see you on Sunday, Greg.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that was wonderful. That was Greg Adams. And we also had Richard Smith, who plays with Greg and been with him for quite a while now. And next week, we have another great artist. Tom Braxton is going to be with us, another horn player. And I think you'll enjoy another edition of the Jazz Confusion Power Hour. For everybody tuning in tonight, I want to thank you. And I look forward to seeing all of you next week. So good night, everybody. I'm setting everything up right now. I'm Mel Albin. I'm the host and the founder of the Jazz Confusion Power
My name
Hour.
is Dion Parson, and I'm honored to share my passion of music with you, our listening audience, through my cultural heritage.
Things can change for you too. If you want to be brand new, that is absolutely possible.